another episode of Doctor Who Review. Today is Sleep No More. 5 categories, as per usual. First being storyline and concept. Now immediately the first thing which I'm going to talk about here, which is kind of the elephant in the room, is the whole found footage thing. It's like Cloverfield a little bit. I think it works alright, but it feels a bit gimmicky, if you get what I mean. It feels like it's a one-time thing, but it was only put in there for artistic effect, not because it was needed. I don't know, this episode was in general just weird and confusing. About 5-10 minutes ago I tried explaining the entirety of Sleep No More to a friend, and even I had to look at a Wikipedia page to make sure that I was getting stuff right and I was understanding stuff correctly. It was that confusing for a person who watches Doctor Who a lot and understands a fair amount more than who I was explaining it to. No offence to them or anything, that they haven't watched it in years. You can understand the issue here, that if I'm struggling to explain it, then this episode must be just confusing in general. It wasn't the whole found footage thing which caused confusion, it was just I don't think the story was written well, and in all honesty, the base idea was good in terms of like the Sandmen and everything else. The base was alright. It was just the execution seemed to stumble, and it just seemed a bit naff, and so therefore storyline concept is going to get a 2 out of 5 from me. Next is character portrayal. This is the part where it sort of picks up. This episode did have some good character portrayal in it. Firstly, the Doctor hardly deviated from what I want the Doctor to be, which is basically what he was set up to be in Series 8, as you should know if you've watched any of my other Doctor Who reviews. The actual Doctor himself was really good, and I thought that Peter Capaldi, as usual, terrific actor, and thankfully he's not been given a bad character to play. Clara wasn't really, she was here and there, but I don't really recall her being too much of a part in this episode, which is not bad or anything. I can't really comment on her portrayal really if she's not really in this episode. The other person really who's the main person to talk about is, what was his name? Gagan Rusen Tusen Boosen Skoosen? The bloke who was documenting the found footage thing, which turned out that he was Darren Brown essentially. That was a good character, and I did really like the twist that they did at the end, and I did like the portrayal that he did at the end, sort of having that two-faced persona and then turning out to, as I said, be this Darren Brown sort of person. That I really liked. I did actually put in my Twitter review, which I'll talk about later, that I did like the end. The end was something which I did think worked really well. It was just everything before it. And so character portrayal gets a 3.5 out of 5. Next is antagonist impression. This episode was set up from an early standpoint to be very, very scary. The preview said it would be scary, everyone and his mate said it would be scary, and it wasn't scary whatsoever. I mean, it might be my age, I'm 18, and so therefore naturally my standards of what is scary is going to obviously be increased. When I was 10, obviously, Weeping Angels would have scared me. When I was 9 years old, the Cybermen scared me. When I was 9 years old again, the Clockwork Droid scared me. So naturally, as you get older, things don't scare you as much as they did when you were 10 years old. And there's probably some psychological reason for explaining that. They picked it up so much and they explained the reason why they were there, which was really clever. I just think that they could have done so much more with it. Like for instance, when the Sandmen went up to the door and then there was some sand or some sleep at the crack of the door, sort of in the room, that would have been really good if that manifested itself into a Sandman itself. So it's a case of under the lake and before the flood where they can go through stuff. The concept was good. Yeah, again, just not the execution, so therefore it's going to get another 2 out of 5 from me. Now it's on to visual effects. Now, They had a lot of bog standard visual effects in this episode and a lot of green screen usage, I imagine. So for instance, like, you had obviously the camera flashes, which is very bog standard. You can pretty much get that off YouTube, and even if you can't, it's a very simple effect to create, probably in After Effects or whatever program that they use to edit. So a lot of the effects used in this episode was bog standard. Visual effects was good because it was not meant to be flashy. And so visual effects gets a 3 out of 5 from me. And finally, it's personal enjoyment. Well, this is taken off Twitter. My Twitter review score was a 6 out of 10, which is a 3 out of 5, which makes it a 2.7 out of 5 for the average. Now this episode, even though I've been slagging it off in like the before bit, I kinda enjoyed it to an extent. Now sure, that score was near what Listen was in Series 8, I don't know, I can't remember. Listen was probably something like 2.4. My score was a 8 out of 5. After rewatching the episode, I smashed that to down to a 6 out of 5. 2.6 out of 5 as an average. And it kind of saddens me a little bit because it was written by Mark Gatiss, who I really do like as a writer, and I do think that he is a good writer because he's written Sherlock episodes and he's written Doctor Who episodes, and some of the Doctor Who episodes and some of the Sherlock episodes have been really, really good. But I just don't think that it was that good this time. And naturally, like, if I was going to use the analogy which I was using, I think it was last week, Mark Gatiss is essentially another source of energy, and occasionally, I guess, one of the bulbs is going to go defunct. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. If you want to check out the playlist of my Doctor Who reviews, if you want to watch more of them, it's up there. Last week's episode, which was the Zygon inversion, is over there. And there is the subscribe button if you want to subscribe, catch up on all the updates, Doctor Who, Formula 1, also some other Let's Play stuff, and Donkey Kong 64 glitches, and hopefully some rants are coming also soon once Doctor Who review finishes. Anyway guys, thanks so much for watching. I'm from Beanland. This is the end credits. Signing out.